And then late game, of course, we know how to play team fights because that's just thank God we're good at that. Otherwise, we're gone. See ya. Slice is number 10. But
Hey everyone, this is Darius from the Shotcaller, and I'm sitting here with Kasing, who just had a very decisive and one-sided win against Giants. Does it feel good to stomp them in that manner?
I knew that regardless of what team we play, obviously except Vitality, but I felt like even how last week we played against H2K and we had like a really clean win. I think today we basically focused more on like very much playing the mid game better, because as you know, like our mid game was pretty atrocious, and that's from myself watching like my own play back in LCS when like in the past weeks that we've played. So I felt like today was like a more of a step up for us as a team, and I feel like we've improved a lot, and I'm really happy about it.
Now, you just managed to pack a win that is really important because it sets you apart from the rest of the middle pack teams. Is it surprising to see how many teams of varying quality to an extent are set in that middle, and then you have like H2K and Unicorns at the bottom and Vitality on the top, really?
I mean, I think, I think right now with like the top 6, I would say, I think we're like number 6. We're not really 1 to 5 yet. I think there's still a lot of stuff that we should learn, or that we need to learn in order to be like a top tier team in Europe. But I feel like maybe Vitality is not as like bad as people thought at the beginning. I think they do understand the basics, and not I'm not just saying this because of the fact that we lost to them, but they did play generally good, and I feel like maybe Vitality is a top 6 team in the end, alongside like Misfits, Schalke, and what's the other one? I think it's Fnatic. Oh, sorry, G2.
It depends on you.
G2 was the other one, sorry. Yeah. I think like all of those teams I just mentioned, plus Vitality and us, like are the top 6 at the moment, I would say. So, yeah, it'll be tough to like see in the end who does the best, because I think honestly we can take it, but it's gonna take some time to mesh.
Now, you just mentioned that you still have some stuff to figure out and stuff to learn. What would be a few of these things?
I think honestly, like for example, most teams, how do I say it? When they look at Splice, they think, okay, they're just a late game team, They're only really good at late game. And obviously today we proved that we can actually play the early game too, which, is a stepping stone, as I said. And I feel like it's nice to win against Giants, especially because Giants are not bad. So it pretty much gives us like a confidence boost at the moment, because of the fact that what we're learning or doing in scrims is actually working, rather than, having like, or training like maybe 4 days a week and then finding out that you're going to lose anyway. So, yeah.
So is one of the struggles that you still see as a team that you previously were unable to have these early game advantages and wins, or is it team chemistry?
I think it was more about understanding of like what your champions can do and pretty much what you're meant to do in this stage of the game. So before, our early game was decent, I would say, but then after mid game we kind of collapsed and like didn't really know what to do properly or the best call. And then late game, of course, we know how to play team fights, because that's just thank God we're good at that. Otherwise, we're gone. See ya. Slice is number 10. But otherwise, no, I think right now there's like a lot more stuff to work on, and like I can't really say specifically what it is, but I just know that there's a lot of stuff for us.
So you're kind of turning into the Unicorns of the last season, where they always were struggling in the early game at times, and they had some good mid-tier games and stuff, but then in the late game, the team fighting was just on point, and then they stumped essentially. So.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. There's nothing much I can say about that.
So Deficio made a list of his top 5 players in the ULCS right now, and number 4 was Cobbe. Now, does it feel honorable or even a bit pressuring to be alongside the 4th best player in the ULCS?
Wait, who's number 1, 2, and 3, and 5?
It's Perks, Jizuke, Hansama, and in 5th place it was Caps.
Interesting. Okay, a lot of mid laners there. Apart from one, I guess Hans, Hans has been quite solid, if anything. So
that's an understatement.
Yeah, I mean, he's like the backbone of Misfits. So I comment on his list. I feel like Cobbe number 4, I would put him higher. Okay. But that's the thing, mid lane syndrome, when you see Perks and Jizuka and Caps, you're like, oh yeah, they're so good. But when the AD carries, actually not even AD carries, supports, where are they? Like top 200. We're not even part of the top 50 or anything. It's ridiculous. But yeah.
Have you accepted your fate of never getting an MVP award?
I'm never going to get it. Like, no matter how many times I play Zillion, even when I press E 10 million times, no one ever appreciates it. Just the guy who gets a pentakill, But of course, I'm happy for Cobbe, if anything.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, we did, or like our guy in NA, shout out to Izento, who does fantastic NA interviews, did an interview with Smoothie, and he also spoke about, how Smoothie will never get MVP most likely, because, that's just the unfortunate situation.
Yeah, that's actually ridiculous. Like, I feel like supports will never ever get the recognition that they want. And, it's not that we want it or need it, like we have to have it, but it'd be nice to get recognized once in a while, But hashtag support life.
Riot, all the people voting there, you know what to do next time. So give some support, love, man.
Focusing.
Well, you have to make. I guess you can. The list is open anyway, so will be interesting. But you have to differentiate yourself from the likes of Jack Troll, for example, who's been very.
That's true. He has been very good. Like, he's been doing his job perfectly on Vitality, and I think that's like it's a big crucial part, because if he didn't do his job properly and didn't play his role good, then they most likely will have much more losses. So I think Jack Troll's been playing fine. They're very consistent.
So he did lose against Vitality, but at the end of the day, it always seems like Vitality wins, and they win with a very decisive call at the end, but they never win in, say, the same manner that G2 used to win, just stomping your opponent and just wrecking them down right and center.
I think that's more to do with the meta at the moment. Okay. Like, there's no such thing as, like, where if you kill someone, you can take the entire base now, apart from if you have a team fight. But this meta basically allows you to, like, there's a lot of wave clear and a lot of team fighting, so you're never actually able to like finish the game in one push unless one, you're gonna have a team fight around it, or two, that you get Baron and kill them at Baron and then finish. So I think compared to the previous metas where you have champions that can literally like take the entire base in like one push, like that's not the same anymore. I think that's the difference between before and now.
Okay, fair enough. Now, there was a lot of discussion about the concept of team fighting, because there were a lot of people talking about how League has almost become too much of a team game at this point. Do you agree with that notion, or do you think it's kind of?
I think in a way it's only because of the fact that they put like more gold on certain roles. Mm-hmm. So when I say this, I mean like supports, honestly, like compared to season maybe 1, 2, and even 3. Supports were basically ward bots, All we had was Ruby Sightstone, we had mobility boots and ping cords like times 10,000. And that was our job. And obviously people like wouldn't really want to play support because, if your role is that, then you're going to find it boring. Mm. So then when Riot like made it so that supports can actually do damage now, or like pretty much do more than just one role, aka just warding, then that made it basically so the gold that used to be all on the mid lane or something, all on the jungler, that used to 1v9, is spread out more between the AD support and top laner now. So of course, in a way, it's better for the competitive side, I would say, because like back then, I would say, if the meta was like before, then someone like Faker, for example, he can just 1v9 every game, because every single if he gets every single resource, and the enemy team cannot also get the same amount of resources, then you're bound to basically carry every game, provided you can play the game properly. So in a way, it's a good approach by Riot, but I just feel like some stuff is unnecessary. Like, for example, when they made, what's it called? They pretty much made the Baron and Dragon like really, really OP now, so it helps like teams to finish out the game. Mm-hmm. But in the end, I feel like that was something that the players should know, like on how to finish the game. You don't need one buff to only end the game now. There's more than just one way to win the game. Yeah. Like if you get Baron, usually you can still lose the game. But that's obviously a way to like counterplay it by the enemy team. And the way Riot are going now is like maybe it's to make the game easier, or like to make it finish faster, because there are games that have lasted for like 1 hour and 30 minutes even in this meta. So that's just how I see it at the moment.
Okay, fair enough. Now, do you have any personal role models as a supporter? You've been around for such a long time, so
Role models?
Yeah. Like players that you look up to, where you go like, I want to be like that guy one day.
I won't lie. Long ago, like when I first played League of Legends, and like season 2, and I was watching like GameSpot, and there was like Game Crews. I think there was like TSM. I used to look up to X Special. That was my first ever person I looked up to, and then after it was Yellowstar, because like he wrote first role swaps from AD as support, and I felt like this guy, he's insane. How do you just do that? And he actually played support really good, because of the fact that Korean players were even saying that he's really, really good, and he's one of the best. And I agree with him. I agree with them because of the fact that from what I watched, like back when Fnatic were in their like 18-0 period, and it just felt like he was so much ahead of like all the other supports. So yeah, that's just one of my role models back then. I wouldn't say my role model is him now though, because he's like he doesn't play the game, and times have passed, but yeah.
Back then, definitely. Yeah, I still remember when at Worlds they put out the Trundle support all of a sudden, and everyone was just mind blown. Why would you do that? Are you mental? And then they still stomped the game.
Yeah.
Kind of like, Prey and oh, come on. Prey and Gorilla did as well.
MF?
Yeah, with the MF support.
Yeah.
And then, it's always Worlds. Like, you're on the biggest stage, most important game of your life. Oh, what are we going to do, guys? Yeah, I don't know. MF support. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, you know. And it's smart by them.
And it worked. That's the most surprising part, I
Yeah.
think. It's
Like-
fantastic.
Yeah.
Are we going to see some picks like that from you? If
I
like,
mean-
ULCS Spring Split Finals, fifth game,
If it comes to it, you know, maybe. Like
Teemo
you will see.
support.
Can't reveal my secret like that. Yeah.
Marty's going to be angry at you.
Nice.
Anyway, is there anything you would like to say to the Splice fans out there?
Well, I first like to thank you all for like pretty much following me since, you know, my career since the beginning, and to those that have supported me since then, and thank you to those that will always support me for the next and upcoming year.
Damn, that's cute. This was Kasing from Splice and Darius from the Shotcaller. Hope you had a good day. See you then.